Wii Sports, the cultural phenomenon that launched Nintendo back to the top of the food chain. It managed to completely transcend gaming culture and put Nintendo at the center of mainstream media.
And we're like, oh, jeez.
It's the best-selling console exclusive and the fourth highest-selling game of all time. Wii Sports is as vital to Nintendo's legacy and success as Mario, Zelda, even Pokemon. And yet, it has been criminally absent for almost an entire decade. With the exception of a haphazard port to the Wii U, Wii Sports is nowhere to be seen on Nintendo's very successful Switch. And it's all the more offensive to watch its legacy slip to the sands of time when all the pieces to give it life, maybe even capture a new generation, are all right here. And that is a crime I cannot stand for. Let's start at the beginning. 15 years ago, an era where gaming culture and marketing was fairly siloed among young adults, with PS2s and Xbox 360s being the dominating platforms to game on. And while I was absolutely one of those young adults, at the time, I was actually distracted with whatever Nintendo had up its sleeve next. Spoiler alert, it's right there. Nintendo had been trailing behind with a series of less than successful consoles under its belt, like the GameCube, N64, and the Virtual Boy, with most of the company's saving grace being the extremely popular Nintendo DS. Now, while Nintendo certainly had a chokehold on the handheld market, they were struggling to keep a grasp on the traditional console gamer, the hardcore gamer, as some may put it. A market largely defined by big budgeted action games with grimacing dudes holding guns. But Nintendo was about to flip the script and kick the pearly gates to gaming completely open. Enter the Wii.
Welcome to the next leap in gaming.
Nintendo skipped competing with the hardcore gaming market, and along with it, threw the conventions of what was understood as a controller out the window with this thing. Package it up with being motion controlled, and it becomes an extension of your own movement, like using a sword, a gun, or to play sports. And what to nail that concept home harder than Wii Sports? Suddenly, this became your tennis racket, your baseball bat, your golf club, your bowling ball, and with this, your boxing gloves. The level entry to playing a video game had suddenly become indisputably approachable in ways it hadn't before, and so a pop cultural phenomenon had erupted. Overnight, Wii Sports felt like it was everywhere. Conan played tennis superstar Serena Williams at Wii Sports.
Oh, yeah!
Wii tennis tourneys took off in NYC and Melbourne. It bridged the gap into movie culture when it was played at the 80th Academy Awards with Jon Stewart.
Hey, all right, you go.
Good game, Mr. John.
It was even featured on daytime news because this dude lost weight playing it every day for 6 weeks.
9 pounds total, 2% body fat loss.
It was being used for physical therapy and rehabilitation, or rehabilitation rather. The Wii, like its codename, was a revolution, and that's even despite everyone smashing their TVs.
Whoa!
Fast forward 15 years later, and it's nowhere to be seen. Now, maybe it's as simple as acknowledging that it was just a trend of its time. I mean, after all, motion controls have been adopted since then in more nuanced ways. Maybe Wii Sports is meant to live in a capsule of that era. And maybe I'm just looking at this whole thing through rose-tinted nostalgia goggles, yearning for the days of yesteryear. Or am I? Digging out Wii Sports today, it is unadulterated, brazen fun. Even all this time later on 15-year-old tech. Booting it up, it is just sheer simplicity. There's no fluff, no involved exhaustive explanation, it just rips. And with just 5 sports to choose from, the game needs no more or less to knock it out. Tennis is still the pinnacle and most addictive. Bowling is casual brilliance at its finest. Golf reaffirmed, well, I'll never golf in real life. Baseball reaffirmed that I was never good. And boxing remains the height of Wii Sports jank, but there's no denying the sick pleasure of beating a dude wearing glasses with a smile on his face to a bloody pulp. Even when I was horrible at sports like golf and baseball, I was still having a good time. And its no-nonsense ranking system was the ideal feedback loop to encourage me to play just one more round.
I am breaking a sincere sweat. I feel gross. I feel like I need to take a shower.
Then there's the Miis themselves. Their limbless depiction and rudimentary design amplify the game's innocent nature. It makes flailing hysterically on a windscreen or watching them fumble to pick up a ball all the more a joy.
You're out.
Truth be told, playing this game today, this simple, innocent, low commitment, even considering all the physical activity involved, struck way harder for me than I anticipated. Not only did it reaffirm me wanting it on Switch, it made me yearn for this unabashed, clean slate charm that I think is responsible for Wii Sports' approachability. And that isn't to say that approachability doesn't exist in other titles for the Switch. I think 51 Classic Games is an excellent example of that, and one that actually utilizes motion controls for some of its games, including bowling. It's a great bowling alternative to Wii Sports Bowling, if that's something you eagerly need in your life and to play with your grandparents or someone else. But even when looking at the Joy-Con, it's like a natural progression of the Wii Remote. It has all the same functionalities as the Wii Remote does, and even games that have been brought over from the Wii to the Switch today all utilize the exact same functionality. So just knowing that makes it all the much more a crime. Now, naturally, there are some games trying to fill the Wii Sports gap, like Instant Sports, which is an option to say the least. Also, Nintendo has tried to carry over Wii Sports with Wii Sports Club, which was an HD remaster for the Wii U. But its launch was rather the antithesis of Wii Sports' simplicity. First, it didn't have all the sports available at launch. Additionally, you'd have to buy them individually for $10, or for $2, you could rent them for a day. Yeah. So not only was Wii Sports Club a mishandling, it was also a product of a bygone Wii U era. And as it turns out, after the Wii U, Nintendo has seemed to have completely moved on from the Wii and Mii identity. No Nintendo Land, Mii Plaza, even Street Pass from the 3DS. The Mii brand association as a whole has taken a backseat. Now, if I'm being completely honest, it's fairly clear why Wii Sports isn't on the Switch. First off, motion controls aren't really a mainstream thing anymore. Also, I think Nintendo made the right move separating itself after the branding confusion of the Wii U.
These guys think they're better than us.
What? Oh, it is time for Wii U.
Additionally, the Switch, it ain't hurting to sell itself. It doesn't need a killer app to sell its concept. The concept sold itself. I mean, as of this video, the Switch is sitting at 89 million units sold, which is bound to surpass the Wii's 101 million with the OLED Switch model. But the thing that keeps rattling around in my mind with this whole thing is that Wii Sports is the single most successful console exclusive ever made. That is 24 million units more than Super Mario Bros. And 35 million units more than Pokemon Red, Green, and Yellow. And while yes, it did come packaged with the Wii, it did not in Japan and still managed to be the best-selling game for the console.
Strike. Batter out.
But really, this isn't about recapturing the success of Wii Sports, but rather acknowledging it with the same reverence as Mario, Zelda, and Pokemon in cementing Nintendo's impact on culture and the industry as a whole.
We would like to play.
The Wii era certainly brought Nintendo back to its feet after some missteps, and it's hard to imagine that success without the universal appeal of a free sports game that came pre-packaged with the console. So, you know, it'd be like cool and stuff to have Wii Sports on the Switch. Like, on the go. It'd be sweet. Just saying. Just saying.
Teen Love.